brand new Phil Wheeler, better known as the Liberace.
Hey, pretty mama, you can brighten up my day with a big hug and a kiss.
Earl, you can ruin my day with just a handshake.
Woman, is you a commie? I mean, I ain't no social agency. You got to think of Sweet Daddy's image.
Remember Teddy Wilson from Good Times? The actor who played Sweet Daddy Williams was beloved by millions, but his battles with producers over pay and creative control destroyed his career.
Oh, the only thing that we agreed upon is that I'm terrific. I mean, we haven't discussed salary.
By the 1980s, explosive truths about his sudden disappearance were surfacing. Teddy Wilson was hiding battles that would cost him everything.
Oh yeah? Well, pretty mama, we can be meaner. Let's bust up this place so I can collect my stuff.
This is how Hollywood destroyed Teddy Wilson for refusing to stay silent. Theodore Roosevelt Wilson was born December 10th, 1943, in Harlem, New York, into a world where black actors had to fight twice as hard for half the recognition. Growing up during the height of the civil rights movement, Teddy understood from an early age that success in entertainment would require more than just talent. It would demand unwavering determination and the courage to challenge a system designed to keep people like him in the shadows. His journey to stardom began at Florida A&M University, where he initially studied music before discovering his true passion for drama. The transition from music to acting would prove prophetic, as Teddy possessed a natural rhythm and timing that made his performances magnetic. After completing his education, he returned to New York and joined the prestigious Negro Ensemble Company, where he honed his craft alongside other talented black performers who were fighting for authentic representation in theater. In 1970, Teddy made his film debut in Cotton Comes to Harlem, a blaxploitation film that showcased his natural screen presence.
Wait, come on, you know the position, come on. Another fine mess you got us into. I got us in.
But it was television that would provide his first taste of sustained success. His role as Earl Chambers, the postman, on ABC's That's My Mama, proved that audiences connected with his everyman charm and comedic timing.
Hey, mama, and Mr. White's coming?
He couldn't make it, but he sent you a pickle.
However, success in Hollywood came with its own set of challenges. When That's My Mama ended after 2 seasons, Teddy found himself facing the harsh reality that black actors often experienced: limited opportunities and constant typecasting. The industry seemed more interested in what he represented than who he was as a performer. Everything changed when Teddy auditioned for a recurring role on CBS's groundbreaking sitcom, Good Times. The character was Sweet Daddy Williams, a flashy street hustler who would become one of television's most memorable supporting characters.
That will not be necessary, JJ, because Sweet Daddy is already taking care of that.
But landing the role wasn't easy. Teddy was rejected 3 times before producers finally gave him a chance. The repeated rejections weren't about talent. They were about the industry's narrow vision of what black characters should be and who should portray them. Each rejection reinforced the systemic barriers that black actors faced, even when they possessed undeniable skill and perfect suitability for a role. The fact that Teddy eventually won the part after 3 rejections highlighted both his persistence and the arbitrary nature of casting decisions in 1970s television. Once cast as Sweet Daddy Williams, Teddy brought a complexity to the character that transcended stereotypical portrayals of street hustlers. His Sweet Daddy was charming, intelligent, and surprisingly vulnerable. A fully realized person rather than a cartoon. The character became an instant fan favorite, proving that audiences were hungry for authentic black characters when they were properly developed and portrayed.
Woman, is you a commie? I mean, I ain't no social agency. You got to think of Sweet Daddy's.
But Teddy's success as Sweet Daddy came with unexpected complications. Behind the scenes, he was already beginning to clash with producers over how the character should be portrayed and what kinds of storylines were appropriate. He understood that his visibility on one of television's most popular black sitcoms came with responsibility, not just to entertain, but to represent his community with dignity. These early conflicts over creative control and authentic representation would set the pattern for the battles that would define the rest of Teddy's career, as he discovered that success in Hollywood often meant choosing between financial security and artistic integrity. As Teddy Wilson's popularity as Sweet Daddy Williams grew throughout the mid-1970s, so did his frustration with the limitations and stereotypes that defined black characters on television. What viewers saw on screen was a charismatic performer, bringing life to a beloved character. But behind the cameras, Teddy was waging a constant battle for dignity and authentic representation. The conflicts began almost immediately after he secured the role. Teddy discovered that the writing staff often relied on lazy stereotypes and offensive language that he felt diminished not just his character, but black viewers who saw themselves reflected in Sweet Daddy Williams. Unlike many actors who might have stayed silent to protect their careers, Teddy made the bold decision to challenge these decisions directly.
Hey, pretty mama, you can brighten up my day with a big hug and a kiss.
Earl, you can ruin my day with just a handshake.
On one particularly memorable occasion, Teddy received a script that contained dialogue he found so objectionable that he refused to leave his dressing room until it was changed. The entire day's filming was delayed as producers, writers, and network executives scrambled to address his concerns. While some saw this as difficult behavior, Teddy viewed it as necessary activism, using his position to ensure that black characters were portrayed with respect and complexity. The tensions were exacerbated by Teddy's growing awareness of the financial inequities that plagued the industry. When he discovered he was being paid significantly less than white actors with comparable screen time on other shows, he confronted the producers directly. Their response was both dismissive and revealing. "You should be grateful for the opportunity." This attitude perfectly encapsulated the systemic racism that black performers faced, the expectation that they should accept lesser treatment simply because they were allowed to participate at all. Teddy's response to this dismissal was swift and coordinated. He organized what became known as the Week of Silence, a period where communication between some cast members and producers was limited to only what was absolutely necessary for filming. This rare display of solidarity among black actors put unprecedented pressure on the production team, though it ultimately led to only partial resolution of the pay disparities. The creative conflicts weren't limited to dialogue and compensation. Teddy also clashed with the show's approach to comedy, particularly his hatred for Jimmy Walker's signature "Dynamite" catchphrase.
Aren't you glad you let your fingers do the walking? Cause you got kids dynamite doing the talking.
Teddy felt that such exaggerated expressions turned black characters into caricatures rather than fully realized people. His public criticism of the catchphrase created tension not only with Walker, but also with producers who saw it as challenging the show's most marketable element. Perhaps the most explosive incident occurred in 1976, when Teddy's frustration boiled over during a heated argument with a producer who wanted Sweet Daddy to be more ghetto. Witnesses reported that Teddy pulled out what appeared to be a gun during the confrontation, though it was later confirmed to likely be a prop gun from the set. The incident shut down filming and nearly cost Teddy his job, serving as a dramatic example of how deeply these creative battles affected him personally.
Oh, yeah? Well, pretty mama, we can be meaner. Let's bust up this place so I can collect my stuff.
The fallout from these ongoing conflicts was inevitable. As the series progressed, Sweet Daddy Williams appeared less frequently in episodes. This reduction in screen time was a direct consequence of Teddy's refusal to compromise on issues he considered matters of principle, demonstrating how activism in Hollywood often came with significant professional costs. While Teddy Wilson fought public battles over creative control and fair compensation, he was simultaneously waging a private war against serious health issues that he kept hidden from nearly everyone in the industry. The stress of constant confrontations with producers, combined with the physical demands of maintaining a television career, was taking a devastating toll on his body. During the height of his success on Good Times, Teddy was secretly battling severe hypertension and had suffered multiple minor strokes. The medical episodes were terrifying reminders of his mortality, but revealing them would have been career suicide. In an industry where actors could be replaced without warning, any sign of physical weakness was seen as a liability rather than a human condition deserving of support.
If anybody ever mentions one word to me that they heard about Sweet Daddy showing some kindness, baby, I'm gonna come back here and really raise hell.
The secrecy required to hide his condition was exhausting. Between takes, Teddy would retreat to his dressing room to compose himself, using breathing techniques and medication to manage symptoms that could have killed him at any moment. His fellow cast members and crew noticed nothing unusual, testament to both his acting ability and his determination to protect his livelihood at any cost. The health struggles were compounded by revelations about Teddy's past that he had worked hard to keep buried. Before his acting career began, he had worked a job that he preferred to keep secret. Details remained scarce, but the fact that he went to such lengths to hide it suggests either social stigma or personal embarrassment that could have damaged his carefully constructed public image. His military service during the Vietnam era had also left psychological scars that affected his professional relationships. The Army had instilled valuable discipline that served him well as a performer, but it had also contributed to a fiery temper that frequently erupted during conflicts with studio executives. This combination of military bearing and explosive anger made him a formidable opponent in business negotiations, but it also earned him a reputation as someone who was difficult to work with. The financial pressures of maintaining his career while dealing with mounting medical bills created additional stress. Despite his fame and regular television appearances, Teddy's net worth remained modest compared to other actors of his era. The lack of substantial residual payments and the financial inequities faced by black performers meant that even successful actors like Teddy lived with constant economic uncertainty.
Wheeler's Dog Obedience School, Phil Wheeler speaking. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Good boy, Rex.
These combined pressures, health problems, financial stress, creative battles, and the psychological toll of fighting for dignity in a hostile industry began to affect Teddy's judgment and decision-making. Friends and colleagues noticed changes in his behavior, though few understood the full scope of what he was dealing with privately. The situation reached a breaking point when Teddy learned that he had been excluded from syndication profits that were being distributed to other cast members. The discovery that he was being financially cheated while simultaneously battling for his health and career led him to file a lawsuit that would eventually change how actor contracts handle residual payments. This legal battle represented more than just a fight for money. It was Teddy's attempt to ensure that future black performers wouldn't face the same systematic exploitation that had defined his career, but pursuing justice would require resources and energy that his failing health was making increasingly difficult to maintain. In the early 1980s, Teddy Wilson simply vanished from Hollywood. One day, he was a recognizable face appearing regularly on television screens across America, and the next, he was gone without explanation, leaving fans and industry insiders to speculate wildly about what had happened to Sweet Daddy Williams.
Daddy. Bless you.
Oh, God.
The disappearance was so sudden and complete that it immediately triggered rumors throughout the entertainment industry. In an era before social media and instant communication, the absence of information created a vacuum that gossip and speculation rushed to fill. The rumors that emerged revealed as much about Hollywood's prejudices as they did about genuine concern for Teddy's well-being. The most damaging rumor suggested that Teddy had been arrested and was serving jail time. This narrative was particularly insidious because it played into racist stereotypes about black men and criminality. The story gained traction partly because of his well-known 1976 on-set gun incident, even though witnesses had confirmed it was likely a prop gun. For many in the industry, it seemed easier to believe that an outspoken black actor had gotten into legal trouble than to consider alternative explanations. The entertainment press, hungry for scandal and lacking real information, amplified these rumors without verification. Stories circulated about everything from nervous breakdowns to imprisonment to cult involvement, each more sensational than the last. The lack of official statements from Teddy's representatives only fueled more speculation, creating a feedback loop of increasingly wild theories. What made these rumors particularly cruel was how they reflected the industry's willingness to believe the worst about a black performer who had challenged the system.
Oh, the only thing that we agreed upon is that I'm terrific. I mean, we haven't discussed salary.
Rather than considering that his disappearance might have legitimate personal reasons, the rumor mill defaulted to explanations that painted him as either criminal, crazy, or culturally deviant. The damage to Teddy's reputation was swift and comprehensive. Even when he eventually returned to the industry, the whispered stories about his absence followed him to every audition, and meeting casting directors who might have considered him for roles suddenly had concerns about his reliability, professionalism, or mental state. The irony was that while Hollywood buzzed with increasingly bizarre theories about Teddy's whereabouts, the truth was far more ordinary and heartbreaking than any of the rumors suggested. But in an industry built on image and perception, the reality of his situation mattered less than the stories people chose to believe. The rumor campaign effectively ended whatever chance Teddy might have had for a major comeback, proving that in Hollywood, perception often matters more than truth, and that absence can be more damaging to a career than any scandal. The truth about Teddy Wilson's mysterious disappearance was far more heartbreaking than any of the sensational rumors that had circulated throughout Hollywood. While industry gossip speculated about imprisonment, cults, and mental breakdowns, Teddy was actually in New York, quietly sacrificing his career to care for his dying mother as she battled cancer.
Well, Sweet Daddy's mama used to wear a locket just like that, and I really love that one.
The decision to return home was both selfless and devastating. Teddy had worked for years to establish himself as a respected character actor, building relationships and maintaining visibility in an industry that quickly forgot performers who stepped away. But when his mother's condition deteriorated, he made the choice that revealed his true character. He put family before fame, love before career advancement. The caregiving process drained not just his emotional energy, but also his financial resources. Medical bills, treatment costs, and the expenses of maintaining two households while not earning his usual television income pushed Teddy to the brink of bankruptcy. The man who had fought so hard for fair compensation in Hollywood found himself using his savings to ensure his mother received proper care. The isolation was complete. While other actors were networking at industry parties and maintaining their professional relationships, Teddy was spending days in hospital rooms and nights researching treatment options. The entertainment industry's out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality meant that his absence was interpreted as lack of interest rather than family obligation.
Rug straight, Nat. My nose is starting to itch.
When Teddy finally attempted to return to Hollywood, he discovered that the rumors about his disappearance had poisoned his professional prospects. The same executives who had once sought his talent now viewed him with suspicion and uncertainty. Casting directors whispered about his problems and unreliability, making it nearly impossible to secure meaningful roles. The few opportunities that came his way were shadows of his former success. Instead of recurring roles on major sitcoms, he was offered single-episode appearances and supporting parts in low-budget productions. The industry that had once celebrated Sweet Daddy Williams now treated Teddy Wilson as damaged goods. His health problems, which had been manageable during his peak years, worsened under the stress of financial pressure and career disappointment. The hypertension and minor strokes that he had hidden for years became more frequent and severe. Without steady income, proper medical care became increasingly difficult to afford. Tragically, Just as Teddy was beginning to rebuild his career, he was considered for a groundbreaking leading dramatic role on CBS that could have made him one of the first black dramatic leads on network television. This opportunity represented everything he had fought for: serious dramatic work that would showcase his range and intelligence rather than rely on stereotypical characterizations. But fate intervened in the cruelest possible way. On July 21, 1991, at just 47 years old, Teddy Wilson died from a stroke, ending forever his chance at the career renaissance he deserved. His death was barely noted by the entertainment industry that had once relied on his talent. His net worth at the time of death was only about $750,000, a modest sum that reflected the financial inequities black actors faced and the career sacrifices he had made for principle and family. The man who had brought joy to millions as Sweet Daddy Williams died without ever receiving the recognition or compensation his contributions merited. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.